Start my...
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone this morning here. Everybody's waking up. We got chilly again on us in Alabama. Well, chilly being a relative statement.
I had to zip up my jacket. That's a sign of chilliness.
Mm-hmm. I may have to get a jacket. Depends on what we do. But anyway, here we are.
Yeah.
Getting ready to go. And again, we're going to shoot for 20 minutes this morning.
Yeah.
Just because of my work schedule and stuff. So no, I say that to myself. That's the bigger... Everybody else around me is very timely. Yeah. I am not. So
we'll forgive you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
And I'm wearing my glasses today because my contacts went into rebellion. I know they have the little rings on them.
What happened to your contacts?
They didn't want to pop in.
Oh, gotcha.
So I just decided to give my eyes a day off.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Instead of forcing them. So sorry about the rings if you see them on my glasses. That's why I try to wear my contacts on this.
Excuse me. Well, anyway, so as we hop in, so we are continuing our story, Audra and I's story. We call it our restoration story. It's a little bit of a review from yesterday. You know, we talked about how, I guess the journey to restoration. Restoration is definitely a choice. Yeah. And restoration is definitely, it requires intentionality and effort and energy. I think, again, maybe many times in our culture, everybody wants forgiveness. Yeah. Right? Everybody would like kind of reconciliation, meaning everything to be okay. Mm-hmm. But then when you're talking about restoration is building something that wasn't there before. Almost like, again, we Audra and I, for a season, we did construction together. Believe it or not, we did handyman work. So we restored homes. Mm-hmm. Of a degree. So restoration is different than just let's slap some paint on it. Yeah. A little more complicated. It's a little because it's taking something from what was and making it better, but making it new. But that takes intentionality.
Well, and you're adding somebody. I mean, just to be honest, like on a practical level, if you're an adult, if you have somebody who doesn't have your child in your life, or a person in your life, a sibling, whatever. Yeah. You're essentially, it's like adding an addition to your house.
It is, absolutely.
It takes time. It's renovation, and renovations can be frustrating because, my microwave doesn't work, and this is here, and there's dust everywhere. But, if you're not going to have the addition without the work, because you're taking something that wasn't around
and adding
in the structure of your life.
That's very good. That's a good analogy.
And that person, too. That person is also, it's almost even like connecting two homes. Yeah. Like building a corridor, because you remember the person you're restoring.
As a whole.
I don't say this rudely. I had a life before I met them. I had dreams, I had goals, I had plans, I had family. They had dreams, goals, plans, a family. Yeah. And you're making the decision. I don't know, maybe we are the unicorns. We made the decision we want those things to be together. Yeah. And that together, the level of restoration looks different for everybody. I just happen to be in a really good spot to be single and young and in my 20s and building my own life. So it was more of a stretch for y'all than it was for me to add those two things together. But that's messy, and it takes, like I said, it takes time, and
it's so that's hard because again, and that's a great analogy because especially when we're talking about what we've done. You've discovered a child like I did. You were reconnected to someone you left, you abandoned, or again something happened, and there was again I'm thinking of somebody we know that has just recently, almost a similar, has recently discovered their biological father. In stuff, and that's going to take time and intentionality. They want it. I think the other parent wants it. So I guess to back up to say, there has to be a desire to do this. Yeah. And that's what because people will say, well, how did y'all do that? Well, we wanted to.
You have to want it first.
Yes.
And you have to know, and even I'm going to talk about this, we talked for a while about what are your expectations, and honestly we all try to define them, but I think we lived I don't want to be discouraging, but we lived for many years not understanding the expectations we had of each other.
That's right.
Because we didn't know and I think I look back now and I'm like, that might have been talking about a negative.
Yeah.
I think we shot our own selves in the foot a little bit because we kind of we were trying to define them, but how do you it's like trying to like work out your marriage relationship when you're dating or something, like you're figuring stuff out, but like until you're actually in the middle of it, your expectations are one thing, but what happens is
something different.
And so I would just say,
well, Audra, that's the neat thing, because it's in any relationship, as we talk about this, and y'all, hey, I would say thank y'all for having patience as because we're working this out live. There's no pre-scripted notes. Maybe there should have been. I don't know, but neither her or I are that person.
I am that person.
Oh,
but
that's true.
I can't do it on this because I would probably be crying too much. So just being real transparent.
Well, but when you talk about that, like, I think what frustrates all relationships is unrealistic expectations. Unreal. I mean, that's what happens in marriage. Many times people in marriages, they have unrealistic expectations of what a husband or a wife is supposed to be, do, act, right? All that kind of stuff. Same thing. Parents can have unrealistic expectations of their children.
Yeah.
We can have unrealistic expectations of friendship. So one of the parts of building any healthy relationship is to have healthy, proper, I don't know if you want to say attainable expectations. So I guess I would say for people like us, we probably should have just had the expectation we're just going to get to know each other.
And I will say this, I put the onus on me. I will always throw the ball. Like, I will always take all the guilt because that's just my personality. But like, for real, some of it probably, I didn't know how to express expectations. That was such a, just to be honest, the first time you asked me that, I was like, what are you even talking about? And that's another thing you have to realize, like, we were talking about building a family, like, me being in the family, and, like, we want to make room for you. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. Just to be honest, I didn't grow up with parents. What are parents supposed to do? I don't know. What you see in the movies, what you watch on Hallmark, I don't know. Like, I had no idea what a role of and so maybe you just have to realize, too, going back to, like, being real loose, that I think we realized and stumbled through those early years, like, realizing that we were talking about a lot of things, but like I had one idea and I had my own hurt and things we had to work through about like what all those things meant and like what wasn't there, the vacuums in my life. I had a lot of vacuums in my life about those things. And like you guys were talking about something else, and you also had your other children and you're trying to parent them, and like it was bumpy. Like I want to be honest, it was bumpy. Because you're trying to take people with two different ideas about everything. And bring them together. So that's what I'm saying, like, expectation-wise, just to realize that, okay, maybe you just start with, okay, what is your definition of a mom? What is your definition of a dad? What do they do? What is your idea of family? What was your family like?
That's good.
I mean, and it's not that we didn't do those things, but we were just I think we were both just so excited. That Dad and I were kind of like, well, it can't be that hard. We'll just figure it out. So we just hopped in the car, started making all these decisions to throw ourselves together.
That's true. No, I
don't know if that makes sense. We were so blissfully ignorant, just to be honest.
That's right. Well, and it was, I mean, on one side for me, like we said before, I had been praying for so many years that at the right time, God would bring us back together. And that's exactly what he did. Because it was, I think, it was a time in your journey where you had some questions. And then you can tell me if this is, again, a wrong observation on my side. But it was a time when I needed to be there. To help you, because you were in college. You were what, 20?
I was 19. I was 20. I was 20. I turned 21. 19 or 21. 19 or 20, because I turned 21 and celebrated my 21st birthday with you.
That's right.
So somewhere like 19, 20.
So
so young, like young and dumb and honestly rip roaring to get started in life, and had some really not bad. I wasn't like a prostitute or anything. I wasn't anything horrible, but like bad ideas about like I'm gonna go off and be on my own, and I'm gonna like run away and like forget everything else and just build on my own, and like that's what I mean. And so honestly, I was trying to build I look back now and I was like, I was gonna build my life around the pain in my life. And like getting away from it.
Oh wow!
So, and that's something that I didn't realize until you can't realize that when in your 20s because you're too dumb to know that.
Well, that and admitting, like in your case, and as you're helping people too. I mean, and in your case, sometimes the pain of life because because you're so constantly present,
and you're blind. I mean, it's like it's like the analogy we use all the time. It's like you don't know you're a fish in water.
Indeed.
Until you get thrown out of your tank.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I just want to, for those who are watching that are in my life, this is my daily caveat. I had beautiful friends. I had a beautiful life. I mean, like I said, nothing was wrong.
Nothing was bad.
Nothing was bad. Mm-hmm. But I have to admit, there was a vacuum. There was things that I was missing. And that's something that you discover. Your 20s are a time of discovery.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And I'm not going to say, like, if you don't have your kid, go look for them in their 20s. I mean, you can work whatever age. I'm just saying, for me, it was a great time for me.
Yeah.
It was a defining moment for me. Now, my family, a lot of my friends did think I was legitimately crazy. And just to be honest, I thought I was crazy. Because I was like, what am I, like, this is okay. So here we are. But I just decided to take the ride because it just felt, and I wasn't even I knew Jesus, I wasn't closely following, but everything in me, it just felt right.
Yeah.
It just felt like naturally, this is what you would do.
Yeah.
I have to follow this river wherever it goes.
Yeah, that's good.
And we both made that decision. And I guess I just put us back on track. Sorry,
Well, no, it's good. And again, we are on track because I think, again, we talk so much about family because we talk so much about God's design. And again, I say that for those who watch or follow, not because we are doing this perfectly, not because we got it all figured out, but because that's what God, in his restoration process, part of restoration is God is trying to bring each of us back to his design. Back to him, almost like I have this old joking analogy. When I grew up here in Alabama, there was a polar bear at the Birmingham Zoo. And I only stop right there because I say there should be two weird things that just showed up in that sentence. Yeah. Polar bear and Alabama. Yeah, they don't go together, right? And so
it's the hottest polar bear in the world.
So many people, we're living life like a polar bear in Alabama. Yeah. Right? We are way outside of our natural habitat. We are way outside of God's created design, and we're wondering why we're hot and miserable and it's uncomfortable and why life is different. And God is endeavoring to bring us back to his intention, which is God's intention is that we have healthy family. So I gotta say that to you. That's why it was like, this is right. This is normal because me being your dad is the right thing for me to be. You being not just being this daughter I had when I was a young man, but you actually being a daughter of our house. Yeah. You actually being a part of what God is doing in our family, like your other brothers and sisters, is part of God's design. That's what God wants and intends. And I guess to say to keep but you gotta, as best as you know how, and this is what you gotta want it. And you may, like us, you may be like us, and you may be just blissfully ignorant and like, woohoo, I have no idea what this is going to be.
It's like a roller coaster. It's going to be awesome. Literally, it was a roller coaster.
But we have to sit there and say, but I'm going to ride the ride.
Yeah. And and talking about what we did, because that's what we talked a little bit. We tried to talk a little bit before, but what did we do? You came to visit me for the first time for 3 or 4 days. Yeah. You we met at the end of January. By February, you were out. That was a weird time for me, by the way, because I don't know if you know this, but we were also talking all the time. And I was 2 hours behind them. I was a full-time student taking 18 hours of classes with a full life, But my friends will tell you that whole semester was like Audra was a zombie.
Yeah.
Because I was always on the phone, asleep, or in class.
Yeah.
I was not very available, which, you know, my friends are very gracious and they were around and they stuck with me through that. But I got very sick. I don't know if you remember this.
No, you had the flu real bad.
Well, no, it's the only time in my life I've had a flu shot, ever. My friends were like, we're going to get the free flu shot and you're coming with us. And at first that was before I met you. It was a very reasonable idea. They were free. We were in college, you know. So I go. But what I didn't know was, you know, high emotions are taxing on your body. I didn't know that. I was 19. So I went and got this flu shot. So to meet my dad, wasn't sleeping. Was like 2 weeks. I met his mother, my Nana, the week before I met him.
Yeah.
The day I met my grandmother, it was Valentine's Day. I'll never forget that. I was so sick that I looked at my grandmother that raised me, went with me to meet her, and I was like, I need to go home, like, right now.
Yeah.
So we left. I went home. I could barely hold my eyes open. I had like 104 fever all night.
Wow.
I had the flu and literally was sacked out for the week. So then I'm like behind. My dad's coming down. I had to go to all of my teachers. But like it was a weird season. It was a great season. In the sense of like all those things. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, that was nuts.
Yeah.
And that was just, you know, I guess maybe that was my introduction to life in our family.
Well,
and how our family is sometimes like, that's nuts. You just hold on and
hang on.
And keep going.
And again, and a lot of, you know, if you know the Hollomans well, as you get, there's not a lot we do at normal level.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we do a lot of things all at the same time, it seems. But so I would just say this is if you're on this path of wanting, again, do you want restoration?
Yeah.
I keep coming, you have to want it.
And you're going to have to work
to get it.
Work to get it. You're going to have, and in your life, I'm just going to be honest with you, your life.
It's going to go up,
and it's going to come to a screeching halt.
You're going to be like a duck in the pond.
Yeah, like,
right?
Life is, I don't want to make you, but that's not bad, and I hope you don't hear this as bad. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that, like, you're going to have to make some decisions.
Yes.
About, like, okay, this is about to change my entire life.
Yes.
Everything's about to change.
Yes.
And just embrace it. Don't be mad about it. Just go with it and know it's a season.
Yeah.
You will find your feet. You'll come into, but we did that. I came to visit you that Thanksgiving.
You moved up the following summer.
I came up for that summer.
Yeah.
Then I graduated and you came to my graduation.
Yeah.
That was really, I mean, that's another thing I'll say. That I almost quit school. I think the only what I do remember you telling me, because remember I told you I was going to quit. Like, I'll just quit. Like, I don't have to finish. And he's like, do you know, like, your family will murder me if you quit university?
Meet me and then you quit.
1 year from graduating.
Yeah, no, we're not doing
like, that. And, you know, you have to go back and you're on a scholarship. Like, but I was going to do it. Like, I remember that. I was like, I mean, who cares? Like, literally, I mean.
You get that from your father, so it's.
So I went back and finished. So I graduated. So, you know, but like I was making major changes, and I was. But the willingness.
That's neat. Well, and again, and that's interesting because you say that, because I think that's something. Restoration will require transformation. It's your life will transform. Now, it will always, I believe, transform for the better, because we are much better as a family because you're with us.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you feel the same way.
I mean, I do now. I mean, let's go. We've talked about all this. We'll just throw in a negative thing, I guess. But like, I had a lot of bad I still sort of do by myself. I'm working on that. But like, too, guys, you have to realize my parents had me when they were 16. Mm-hmm. Remember what I told you yesterday about what I was told about myself, how I came into the world. Like, even like me, my dad corresponded with me. Not like I never fully walked away from God. I was just very suspicious. About God. Yeah. And about him being a father. Yeah.
Because that's what, and listen, guys, that's what happens when we're not there as dads. That's back to design. If we're not owning in a good way our place as father, we will warp our kids' perspective of father.
Because I remember my first conversation you asked me was, "Are you saved?" And I could literally tell you, like, "Well, yeah, I've said the prayer 2 or 3 times," but like, because I just wasn't, I didn't have.
Got coffee on my shirt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Just buttoning up to be fine. It's I had said the prayer, but like I was really suspicious, and I was not. I love vulnerability now. You probably hear me talk about vulnerability a lot now. I discovered Brene Brown somewhere in this time.
Yeah.
And like love and hate her to this day. But like, we gotta go. But like, we had to talk about what does it mean for God. Like, it was even a restoration of me back to like who God was and like that situation. Because there was just a lot to figure out. But that, not in a negative way, but like they had to walk me through. I had to walk through like, where am I at in this family? Like, I can't just I refuse to be like, God restored me. Here's my little ministry piece of my child that's here. And like, I talked to you about that. Like, I'm not your presentation piece. I'm your kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we talked about that a lot. I was like, and I didn't grow up in a ministry family. And I was getting kind of thrown into this ministry family, and I had no idea
what that meant.
What that meant. And all of a sudden, you're on display all the time, and I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. So we had to walk through, and maybe we can talk about that more tomorrow. Like, how do you blend those two things together?
Yeah. Well, and again, and the blending of life again, and we can, and so we're gonna stop here because I hate to, but I have got I got to go for work related stuff. Yeah. But now that we've gone a couple of days, and this is going to take a few more days, so this will probably bleed into some next week. Start asking us questions. Right? That would help us a ton. If you had questions, maybe you're on your own restoration journey. Again, if you make them in the comments, we'll assume you're okay with public acknowledgement. If you'd like to remain anonymous, just send it to us in Messenger, and we'll know that you want to stay anonymous, and we'll still answer. But I'd love to have some more help so we know how to guide you. So I guess to land the plane, you got to want it.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to do the hard yards. You got to be willing to let your life be transformed, right? And let your life change. But it will always, guys, listen, it will always change for the better. Done as you follow the word, follow God's design, follow love and the Spirit. It will, even in the rough parts, it'll be rough. And we're not going to try to sell you a bill of goods.
Maybe we'll talk about hard yards tomorrow. Like
we can do some hard yards.
That leads you
to that.
To ultimate restoration.
So cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let y'all go. And we love y'all. Go to thehollemans.com. There's a give button. There's stuff to buy. There's things to look at. If you would like to sign up and we are creating like an e-magazine, an e-zine. If you'd like to receive that, it's going to be every 2 months. The next edition is going to come out in February. Just make sure you get us your
You can
email.
do that at the bottom of the website. Everything's at the website.
Bottom of the website, and we'll do that, and we'll go from there. And until then, we will see y'all tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.